Prosecutors in Pennsylvania described a scheme in which the judges shut down the county-owned juvenile detention center in 2002 and signed an agreement with PA Child Care LLC to send youth offenders to its new facility outside Wilkes-Barre. In exchange, they were paid under the table, the two judges, $2.6 million in the following 5 years. Again, and this is going on everywhere, and in California, they're just coming right out in the open with it and saying, yeah, we're going to get some cash. We're going to take cash for how we rule. What's wrong with that? We got SWAT teams. If you don't like it, we'll throw you in the jail. Now, if this is allowed to continue, because, I mean, again, in the past when this stuff would come out, people went to prison. Now you expose it, you go to prison without a trial from the very judge that you're exposing. Leslie Dutton, what do we do to help Richard Fine? What do we do? I mean, obviously, get the word out about this, have people visit your website, get the videos out to people, call the Supreme Court, call the media, ask them, why aren't you covering this more? None of us are safe.
Well, there's something very specific they can do next Tuesday, and it's really important. There's going to be 2 rallies to support the Free Richard Fine movement, and one is going to be in front of the Superior Court in Los Angeles at 8 o'clock in the morning. The other one's going to be held in front of the steps at the U.S. Supreme Court. And grassroots citizens are urged to turn out, bring a sign, and the one before the Supreme Court will start at 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. On the 20th. And bring a sign and come down there and let's show the Supreme Court that you want Richard Fine to be free, and that we want to reveal what is going on with our justice system and reform it. And the rally at the Los Angeles Superior Court will be in full view of Judge David Yaffe, the judge that jailed Mr. Fine, and all the others. As they come to work that morning, they'll have to pass through all the people there for the rally. And let's show support from the citizens that we want our justice system back. And we want clean and honest government, and we want fairness in the courts.
Well, this is so fundamental, I don't even have words to properly describe how important this is. I've studied the founding of our nation and the 15 years of tumult that led up to 1775, 1776, and the media always says it was about taxation. And the Stamp Act was part of it, the Tea Act, that was part of it. But the main reason, you read this in the Declaration of Independence, as Mr. Fine said, was that they created these king's courts outside of the courts that Englishmen in England had access to. Well, we no longer had access to it here in the colonies. And it was the same thing. Judges would take your property. They would take bribes. Anybody that stood up against them, they would order them arrested with no trial. They would transport them to other colonies or to England for kangaroo trials, special courts the king set up. That Englishmen had fought in the Magna Carta and the Parliament Act for, and so it's the same thing repeating itself. This is what went on in Soviet Russia and Communist China and Fidel Castro's Cuba. We know tyranny, and this is just another serious red flag, the biggest I've seen, and it shows how evil our mainstream media is, pretty much blacking this out, and we're going to try to talk to Mr. Fine coming up for about 30 minutes in the last hour today. But Leslie Dutton's website is fulldisclosure.net. Thank you so much. And I want to thank one of our writers out in California, Cassandra Anderson, who first alerted this to this and wrote that article for Infowars.com that you helped put together, Leslie Dutton. But I salute you spending your time and energy to defend justice.
Well, let me ask a favor of you. When you talk with Mr. Fine, be sure and ask him what impact the judicial corruption has on the political process. Because if you think we'll have fair elections, and if you think that the judges can impact the way elections turn out and whether or not we have a democratic process, he can tell you why we should be very concerned.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, his phone calls to us are getting blocked somehow, but he's able to get through on a calling card. And this is a very important case of Richard Fine. Here's the headline. The U.S. Supreme Court will consider the case of a 70-year-old taxpayer advocate, Richard Fine, who has languished in jail for more than a year. This is an amazing story. He's a former federal antitrust lawyer, PhD. And it is admitted that judges in L.A. County are being paid money under the table, similar to the case MSNBC reports on. 2 judges plead guilty in sending kids to lockup. Pair admit they got $2.6 million in payoffs to put away young people in a private facility. So this is going on everywhere, but no jury, no charges, over a year in jail because he's been exposing the very judge that put him in jail. Now, this is the essence of tyranny, what we see in the Declaration of Independence, what we were fighting against. Richard Fine, you've got the floor. Tell people what's happened to you.
Okay, well, what has happened to me, very simply, is that I exposed the scheme under which L.A. County supervisors have paid over $300 million.
Your call may be monitored or recorded.
In the last 23 years to the L.A. County Superior Court judges. Now, the interesting thing about this is that the Superior Court judges are state-elected judges. They have absolutely no relationship to L.A. County. These judges are elected in state elections, they're state officials, and they're state employees. And what happened approximately 23 years ago in the late 1980s, the L.A. County supervisors decided that they were going to pay sitting judges money to attract and retain qualified judges to sit in L.A. County. Now, this is totally ridiculous because of the fact that you can't attract a sitting judge to become a judge, and you can't retain a sitting judge to become a judge because the judges are elected. So you can't give them money to attract them to have a job that they already have.
And
you can't give them money to retain a job for which they're elected.
And precedent shows this is basically illegal, but they're doing it in plain view, right out in the open, and you have a conflict of interest now where in all these years the county's only lost 3 lawsuits because they pay the judges.
That's right. Now, interestingly enough, Alex, it wasn't out in the open. The way that they did it is they did it through the budget process. And in the budget, there was an item called trial court funding. And they just plugged it into trial court funding, and there really was no way that the public really saw that this was money going to the judges. The only way you could find it is that you could find maybe a footnote that would say it was part of trial court funding that the money was
okay. So, but I mean, now it's out in the open. But the media isn't giving it a lot of attention now. $300 million. I mean, how much are these judges getting a piece a year?
The judges were getting in 2007 and 2008. They were getting $46,366 per judge per year, and there are 430 judges in L.A. County.
On top of their state paycheck.
Yeah, their state paycheck was $178,000 a year, plus $30,000 in benefits. So the judges were basically taking home about $250,000 a year. That is more than the Chief Justice of the United States Supreme Court, who only takes home $218,000 a year. Now, this is across the board, by the way, throughout California. 55 out of the 58 counties in California is paying extra money to the judges.
Your call may be monitored or recorded.
Not all of them are paying as much money as L.A. County, however. Some of them are only paying a few $1,000s. In fact, in the latest report that came out, this year, I think it's $33 million is being paid to judges throughout California. $23 million of it is being paid in L.A. County.
Unbelievable. And so you start exposing this, you start challenging cases where there's a major conflict of interest, and they throw you in jail, and they're not charging you, and you've been there for a year? I mean, are they saying you'll be there forever?
Well, they want to keep me here until I tell them what my assets are, so that they can grab my assets based upon a ruling that this Judge Yaffe made that I should pay money to L.A. County. Because what happened in this particular case is, and this is also very interesting because this shows you how deep the corruption is. What happened in this case, and the case is called Marina Strand Colony 2 Homeowners
Richard, we got a break. We got a break for the network and satellites. We're back in 3 minutes. Stay there. We hope they don't cut you off. And I've seen cases on CNN where the judges come out in Texas and admit they're getting the money from people's cars they take and wallets they take with no drugs or anything. It's just lawlessness. It's going on everywhere.